Yeah, hi, good evening. Myself Navinesh. Today now I am going to give the demo number 5. So in this demo, I am going to cover the things like what we have implemented the validation rule framework in the code like which are written in the validation framework. And the first thing we have implemented like those validations like by writing them in the some business logic, and we have read the values those validation list from the application dot properties, right? So I will go to the code now. So I will show you how from where we have started, and from there like how we have reduced the code, and yeah, we'll see now. So at the initial stages, uh, in the so today like now I'm going to give using the Redis to store fetch the data from the Redis. Like in generally, like Redis is like to store the temporary data, in a temporary location. Like the data is which is a static, like not usually changes frequently. So for the data, in order to get the data which is going to be constant, like for a while, constant for like months, like that. So in order to fetch that from DB, it would be very slow, right? In order to fetch that data from the DB, and it is a time taking process. If we fetch the data from the Redis, so Redis generally the purpose is like it is a temporary location where we store the data. So it is a caching. Redis is a caching. So now we'll store the this validation list, and the parameters in the Redis, and from there we fetch the those data. So there are different scenarios we need to work on. So at the beginning stages, uh, from the application dot properties, we have read these values, right? These rules, validator rule one, duplicate transaction check, and the other one is the threshold value, payment threshold value. So these validation rules, the first thing we have done is reading from the application dot property first stage, and the second stage is that since we should not do from the reading from application dot properties, let us store in the DB and like fetch while loading the project, while loading the application itself. So we have done like while loading the project itself, we load these values by using at the rate post construct annotation. So we are fetching while we run the application during the running of the application. There is a second phase uh, in our project like which we have done, and the third step is like now we have to do fetch the data from the Redis, not from the like a database. If it is present in the database, the flow is here is like if the data is present in the Redis, we will fetch from that location. If it is not present, we'll go to the database, and from the database we fetch it, and we'll keep it in the Redis, and from there we fetch the data. That is how the entire process will be there. Let me see like once the record is continuing or not. Yeah, it's fine. So now, so I will go to here I have implemented the code actually, the entire thing. So but let me walk through the code that I have gone through. So here we have already there is a payment controller class like which we have declared in order to check for the different validations. Validator rule 1, and for the duplicate transaction, like here we are starting from the this payment controller, and we know like at the rate SLF4J is for used for the logging purpose. Directly we can write by using this at the rate SLF4J annotation. Directly we can print the log statements by using log.info. So like not required manually writing the class name and doing all those stuff. Here you can see, right, like by using log.info, so by using log.info, like we are able to do it, that thing. Okay. Okay, now, so the thing is that before we have from controller, and from controller we are going to this validate and process payment, and from the process payment we are triggering the validation rules. We have wrote some logic here getting those things, and from here we are trying to validate, and from here like we are creating this is the lookup. This is called the like since like we are not by not doing the dependency injection, it is called like dependency lookup. We are going in such getting the bean, like here we are not declaring by using like iterate auto generation like that. So dependency, we are doing the dependency lookup. We have to go there and call the bean for us, like what is the required bean for us. So that is here what we are doing, that is a dependency lookup, so that's fine. So here like we are creating the object there and everything is fine, and so by using like at the rate post construct annotation, so we are like validating those we are getting those the list, validator list, like what are the different validations we have. Like one is the validator rule, one duplicate transaction check, and the payment threshold value. So that's fine. So if everything went success, like we are going to like return this transaction ID and the this URL, and this is the response we are trying to set in, right? So this is the way. And now like what is the changes we are going to do is, so uh, if you want to use the Redis, so first we need to do the manual configurations. We need to add the pom.xml file, and further we have to have added the dependency for the Redis. So and we need to set up the configuration. I have installed the software Redis CLI, so Redis server, in order to like manually execute the commands. Here you can see, right, I actually have there is a command called like a key star. We'll go like look at this much clear when you go further, but let me give you like a brief introduction. As you can see here, right, like the key is already present in the Redis. So what we are doing is, so like already these values are present, but we have wrote the code for that. So that's why we are able to see these rules, like this list, validation list. One is the like validation rules, and these are the like parameters. Like val in this validation rules. So this is the list actually. So in this list we have stored the values, like the range. As you can see here, I can go here and I will show you. Actually, I have performed the action for all these things. So we should use like range 0 to -1 L range, and that field key name with the L 0 to -1, so that it will fetch the values present in here. You can see, right, actually L range, this is the key actually, and you can see the values like validator rule 1, duplicate transaction check, attempt payment attempt threshold check. Okay, these are things, okay, but let me go step by step not to confuse you with all these things. So here in the pom.xml file I have added the this lombok one. So if we go here, spring boot Redis, right, here you can see, here this is the one thing pom.xml file we have added for it. And if you want to so by adding this dependency, so it's everything, it will take care, the spring will take care of this, of creating the libraries and the beans for it. Like if you want to create manually the bean for this Redis and do the configuration, so this is how you can do by using like a configuration annotation and by using a bean annotation. And here actually I have like done some experiment like without adding that pom.xml file, like, so I have created like this actually to have to use this Redis template. How same it is like a JDBC template, right? So we use the JDBC template like to connect with the database, right? So in the same way, like to connect with the Redis, here we are using the Redis template. So same manner, in the same manner, so we are having the Redis template. So if you add the like JDBC pom in the dependence in the pom.xml file, so we don't do this configuration, right? And external, like if you want to do any changes and we want to create a bean and Spring will take care of it, means in that scenario, like in the olden days, the earlier stages, like if you want to do any configurations for the required class that is present, that is for the source codes, Java source code, and if you want to create the beans for that. So by using these annotation, the red configuration annotation, the red bean annotation, so we can do the. So since already we have added the this library, right, this dependency in the pom.xml file, so like this thing is not needed. So what we have done here means we have added one controller. So this controller, so the main purpose of this entire thing is that we just need to reload. So by like triggering, by pointing this uh, endpoint, so we are saying that whenever like we hit this uh, endpoint, so it should reload the these rules, validation rules, and the parameters, validation rule parameters. So for that we have like created simple REST controller. So REST controller is the combination of the controller and the response body. So the difference between the REST controller and the controller is REST controller will return the JSON response, whereas controller will return the view, or the will return the view that might be JSP or the HTML page. So what we are doing is like we have just created some REST controller by using like the request REST controller annotation, and request mapping is like if you want to differentiate like directly, we can add the endpoints here, what we want to call from the postman. So I have just declared it, but if there are like so many names, right, and to avoid the ambiguity issue, like to have like clear convention, so we can use this request mapping to have like correct identification. And so here we have declared one post method where we are calling a method like reload validation rules and params. So in this we are from the, so we have created this service class actually, and we are going to call this reload validation rules and params method. So if I open the declaration for this method, and yeah, here you can see like we are actually doing two things here. So what are the two things means? One is to, we need to reset, right? So if the server is already running, and if we again like if we try to reload it, some like minor modifications, again the server will like, it will reload, right, again it will start. So at that time, like if already the data is present, if we not reset it, then again the values are going to be duplicated. So it is going to be added like many times, like how many times we are going to run it, like without stopping the server. Since like in the pom.xml we added the that dependency, right, so that without if you do some minor changes, like if I do some enter some space and do control S, and it will automatically update the changes and will reload it for us with the updated changes. So every time so if the value is present, so if we are not going to reset them, the value is going to be added again. So in order to avoid that issue, first thing is that we need to delete it from the Redis, so that it will be cleared, right? So we go to the database first time and we fetch from the database and we'll be putting into the Redis, right? So yeah, next time like after like if you stop the server, and again like the process will be same, like it will be like deleting from the Redis, get the from the database, and we again putting into the Redis. So here we have like implemented two methods. One is reset. Reset is just like making them like zero. So we are resetting the like what are the values present previously. So we are trying to reset them and fetch from the database. Like if there are some modifications, like we are changing the database manually, and without resetting, right, so we are going to get the values that are present, so it is going to directly going to connect with the Redis and going to fetch that value, but the value present in the database is different. So in order to avoid all these issues, we have implemented this reset validation rules and params method. So here what we are doing is that first we are deleting that key, right? That entire validation rules and the those parameters. So we have write a code like reset validation rules and params, like where we are deleting those. We are set like one value here. This is the validation rule key, and we are trying to set this. This is the key actually. We are trying to store this in the validation rules. And same for the validation parameters. We have the validation rule params, and we have to call the Redis template, right? We have to use that. So we are doing here constructor injection. We can do the auto void injection as well, that is a field injection, but it is better to use the constructor injection because it is usually like as per the information, like I have like search in ChatGPT, like it is easy to mock, and like for testing purpose it would be easy. And again, like if you use the constructor injection, right, so the runtime errors will be like resolved. The runtime errors like which are coming for us, so those runtime errors will be resolved, because while constructor, if you have declared that dependence in the constructor, so while running the application, before running the application, like while compiling itself, if any of the dependencies fail, it will throw the like compilation error. So it is like better for us to use the constructor injection. So here now, like we have done, like created a validator rule now since to call it, and we are like putting these values like list operation, hash operations. Like if you want to put that value, right, if we create some hash map map equals to new hash map, so we are creating, right, that map. So same way, like here we are doing like to put that values into a list, or if it is hash map, whatever might be. So right, yeah. So this is the reset validation rules and params. So we are trying to delete the validation rule list and as well as the parameters. So that is the first thing which we need to do definitely. So this is like some code I have worked on. So I have just put the comments like which is not necessary. And the second thing is, if you go here, this validation service. The first thing is reset validation rules and params, which we have done. So we are deleting those keys in the Redis location. So now there is the other method which we have declared, that is load validation rules and params. So now I will open the declaration here. So here what we are trying to do is, so we have declared some method, that is a get validation rule list. So here we are going to store that list, right? So those are the list of values, right? Whatever might be, that is validated rule one, duplicate transaction check. That thing, those things are we are getting from the database. So those things we need to store in certain data, right? Certain data type. So we are going to store them in the list. So those are a string, and we are trying to store them in the list. So here we are doing like generic here we added. So these are for string type, and we are using this get validation rule list. So what this method is doing, let us go and see. And here what we are doing is now we are doing the Redis operation, like in generally we have done, right, in the CLI here. In order to get the this range for this key, we have used the command like L range. This is the enter key, and the values are range like we entered like 0 to 0 minus 1. And same here, in order to, like, it is like a query, manually we are writing that here in the code level. So what we are doing here, we are using like variable. This is the list operations. So what is this list operations? You can see here. This list operations is the field, like a variable name, like as I said, like list for list, and for the hash map as well. So we are using list operations. So with this, so if this hash map, right, so if we create the hash map and we create a reference variable as map, and if you want to put the values, so we'll be putting those values in the hash map like how, like map dot put, right? So by using the reference variable, we are getting that put method from the hash map dot put, adding suppose two strings, a comma b in the strings. So in the same way here also we are doing here. Uh, yeah. you open get validation rule list. Yeah, here you can see. So we are using like similar to here SQL query, this syntax code to operate with the Redis, like to get the range of the list. So here we'll get the, if the values are present, we'll get those rules. Since like we have already deleted from the Redis location, from the Redis, so here we are going to get the empty at first scenario. So here like if anything is present, if the values are present, suppose we'll do some other we'll perform some action like with a shopping server, like we'll do like 1 second like reload. So at that time the values will be present, right? We are not going to delete it, right? Again, if we come to the reload endpoint, so it is going to start from the starting position. So if like if the valid rules are present, it is going to return those valid rules. Like at the first time, since like the we have deleted, since we have used like that is refreshing that values, resetting those values. So here we are trying to do again like get that data from the database. So yeah. So here like first thing at first time like we'll be getting like the values are null, like nothing is present. So we have wrote like if values are present, you directly return those values. So here now what we are doing, we have deleted from the Redis location, so we need to get from the database. So here we are doing like, so some we are trying to fire a query here. So what is that query? We need to get that validation rules, right? The validation list. What are those present in the database? So there are three validations, right? Like validation rule one, duplicate transaction check, and the payment threshold. So we are firing a query here. Select validator name from validation dot validations underscore rules, and we have given the priority, right? Like where exactly is true, and like order by ascending order. So from that, like we are going to fetch that this active this validator rules. So after that, after fetching those values, so we need to add in the Redis locations, since like we already deleted and now we fetch those values. Now we are trying to add them in the Redis location. So generally like if you want to add the elements, right, so for the list of operations we can do like r push that key name and all those values. And if you want to add a left push to the list, and we can do the l push and all the operations, the key name and all the values to it. So here also same, like so here we are doing like list operations or write push all, and what are the things which we have got, this is the key, and what are the things like which we have got, these are the things, right? So we have passed these validation rules here. So these rules we are going to insert, right, for this key in the Redis temporary location. So the validation rules list is completed. Now we just need to go for the params, right? So that is like time and the threshold value. Like for this many, within this time, we should only perform like n number of transactions. So if you are going to beyond that many transactions within that particular limit, so we should stop, right? That is the payment threshold validation. So before that we have set those values in the database, and now we are trying to do is instead of setting the values in the DB, let us put the values like since they are like constant, like will not change for very frequently, so let us try to put the values in the Redis location so that the operation can be performed very faster, because when we try to get that from the DB, right, so it is a time taking process. So here one thing is getting the rules we have done, and the other thing is getting the validation rule params, right? So here you can see there is a method load validation rules and params. The first one is get validation rules list, and here now the second one is the get validation rule params. So we need to pass, right, those these rules and get those parameters. So here also same, like we go to the database, fire a query, from that we will be getting, and again we'll try to add the same in the Redis, right? So the same thing is happening here. So there is a get validation rule params method. So if you open the implementation, like I will execute the code, I will run the application and like will debug it and will like entirely show you step by step here how the data is flowing exactly like from end to end. So here we have like get validation rules and we are passing the validation rules name already we have got from the above method. So here also we are doing the same thing. So if it is present, return them. So if it is not present, like we are putting like some block statement here, like loading values. Since these are not present, already we have deleted in the Redis location. So we are going to call this database by using like valid rule dot load validation rule params method. So here now open implementation and he see here like here also we are doing the same, like we are firing a query. What is that query? So for each rule we will be passing this validator name here. So for none of them in the database we have this param name and param value. Actually only for the payment threshold only, like we have these things param value and the param name. As you can see here, I will open the database. You can see here for the validator param name we have these things like duration param name, what are the param names, duration in minutes and the max payment threshold value. So for none of the validator name we have only for the payment attempt threshold check validator only we have like in the database only. This is the only validator name present in the table. So it will check this condition here whenever we fire this query, right? So we'll select param name, okay, param value from validation rule params. So if it is the validator rule 1, where validator rule 1 equals to validator rule 1. So here what will happen, like this name is not present, so it will not fetch any value. So for the duplicate transaction check also it will not fetch any value, but for the payment threshold value, so it will try to it is going to fetch this these two params. Since like this already validator name is present in the database in this table validations underscore rule underscore params, so this is going to fetch this value when we fire this query. So here you can see this is the query and we are going to get that those two things. And from here we go to the service, we go to the catch here. From the service actually we are calling the two methods. From service here without going to the DAO layer, we are going to have one different class, that is the validation rule class. Actually from the validation class, like if the value is present, so this is the class which is going to like interact with the Redis and the Redis. If it is present, we'll get the from the Redis. If it is not present, we'll go to DB, get from the DB, save into the Redis and get from the Redis. That is how the flow is happening here. So now here we have got those parameters, and here we are saying like if the values are not null, we are going to add them, right? So we need to add in the, like why we are adding here, we need to add here just because of we need to store them in the Redis, because already we have deleted those at the reset we have deleted those keys. So here we are now trying to add them, since like we get the latest value from the database. So here you can see, right, this put all. So this put all is like as I said, like it's a hash map operation. So this is the key we have set it like with the validator rule name, as you can see here in the Redis server. See, as you can see here, right, this validation rules, and this is the hashing we have added actually, uh, and this is the for the L range. Actually this is for the list, and if you can see, this is the key. Actually this is the key, this is the hashing we have added, and this is the validation rules underscore params, and this is the one thing, the params key which we added, that is like a validator rule. Okay, as you can see here, like when we want to fetch this value using like hash get all, we can fetch the values. Like you can see payment threshold and the max payment threshold and the duration duration in minutes. And you can see here like the value is like 5 2, that was the thing that we that I have done like previously, that is the values that is coming here. Like it is like hash code actually enter thing. We don't like exact time what is here present, but the n values I think seems to be like that, the 5 and the 2, as you can see here, like for the below as well. Okay, we'll check once we go to here, like again not match this concept yet. We'll go step by step. So now we have added this into the Redis, these values. So by doing the add validation rule list, here actually in the we need to go to the like add validation rule params. Yeah, here, yeah, add validation rule params. So we have added it. So it is going to be stored in the database, and from that, after that, we perform these actions. We are going to come back and we are going to return this response entry, like validation rules and params are reloaded successfully. So let us once now try to will run the application, and we'll put the enable the debug points here, and we'll see like how exactly flow is going on. Or else let me first show you only like run the project and the result. Run as Spring Boot app. So now, yeah, just I have started the applications. Like since we have used the post construct annotation, like while loading the server itself, like we have calling these rules. But when we call this endpoint, when we hit this reload endpoint, so it is going to be deleted in the Redis location if it is present. So these things are like loaded from the database actually. From the database we are going to get this actually. So but not from the Redis here. So now what we are doing here is, whenever we use the here, whenever we are going to trigger this reload, right? So it is going to delete from the Redis, go to the database, fetch from the database, put it in the Redis, and get the data from the Redis. So that is how the process is here. So now we'll see here, once we click on this send here, so we should get the actually the response what we have done so far. So validation rules and params reloaded successfully. So we have log statements actually. So from that we can get the things. Here you can see here like here you can see the log statements like which we have written. If you go to service here, it would be like much clear for you. Yeah, here we have wrote right the condition, the log statement checking validation rules. Please wait, right? So here you can see the statement like which we have printed. You can see, and from there like we have got the reset validation. Like there we have not actually wrote any log statements, but here if you go to this load validation rules and params, here you can see like here we have like wrote like one statement. First we go to this get validation rules list. From this we'll be printing one statement. What is that? If it is not present, so go to database, right? So loading validation rules from deep. So since like we have deleted, right, so it will be definitely going to the database, since we are hitting the reload button, right? Yeah, reload endpoint. So here you can see loading validation rule from DB, and like from that like will be the rules are going to get it. Here you can see validated rule 1 duplicate transaction check and payment threshold check. And for valid rule 1, see we didn't get any params because like the name itself is not present in that table. So for the duplicate transaction check also, like there is empty data, there is like no parameters present, because we are having only values for the payment attempt threshold check, and those values are, you can see here, payment attempt threshold check, the values are like payment max payment threshold value is 4, and duration in minutes is 1. You can see in the database here, like in order to what we have given, yeah, you can see this max payment threshold value is 4, and the duration in minutes is 1. So now you go here. So yeah, here you can see we got these values, and finally we are printing the response like from the controller. We finally will come to the controller here, payment controller, sorry, validation rule controller. So where we are trying to return the response here. So this response entity we are using here is just because of to have, suppose if any internal server error occurs, then so it will be not in a proper order. So we not to have that with the proper error code and with the proper error message. If we use the response entity, so it will be displayed with the error code, error message, and the status. So here the status is like okay, right, like 200. So if it is like any exception is occurring, so we'll throw like that error code, like what we are using in the validation exceptions. So with the error code and with the error message and the status as well. So now if you go to Redis here, so I will give you like brief knowledge on the this Redis comments. So we have actually had like different keys before. So like from ChatGPT, you can go there and add like some basic commands for to perform operations on Redis. So actually I had before some keys here like Z1, K90, K96, and these are like different values. So if you can see here, we'll try to get the value, right? So this L range, this is the one thing, this is the key actually. If you use the key star here, let me show you once. This key star will tell us like what are all the keys like present in the Redis location. Here you can see we have these validation rules and the this payment item threshold key. So if you know what are the values present in the validation rules, means if you go to, okay, I have done something else, sorry, okay, I have not copied correctly, let me go here. uh, so here the the list of values, uh, yeah, L range. So we are going to get the values like within using like L range from the list. L range is like list. So if you get here, you can see here, yeah, you can see here like what are the things, like what are the values present in this key for the validation rules. So what are those? Validator rule 1, duplicate transaction check, and the payment attempt threshold check, right? So like same for the hash key for the payment attempt threshold also, like we can get it. Okay, I have already performed the action for that as well. So for that, if you use the hget, so these are like basic commands, so like which we should like have some idea on that, like not really like not thorough is not required at the beginning stage, I think. So if you go here, for L range we have done it here. So here we use like hget all. So what are the hash? H is like your hash here. For the hash get all, if we do hash get all, so we are going to get this. We'll try to perform this as well once, since we have run the application. Yeah, here you can see duration in time and the duration in minutes. So that those are like hash coded actually, and these are the params. These are the like param names, and these are the values like hash map, right? Key and value. This is a key, and second one is value, and third one is a key, and fourth one is a value. So yeah, this is the entire thing, entire demo, like which I really want to be you on this thing, like on the Redis thing, where we store data like most in a temporary location. So really, in this entire journey, I have like learned and improved myself a lot. and I'm sure like this will be helping to all of us, like those who are all involved in this internship definitely. And really thanks, and yeah, that's it from my end. Really a great